Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into another weekly dose of your rundown. Join in with me, as always, my brother from another, my co-host, all the way from the Kayson Davis. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing good today. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, man. It was a nice little rest and renew day for your boy. I'm energized and I am ready to go to talk this second round after an outstanding first round of the NBA playoffs. Lot going on, Kay.
Yeah, first round was really good. Some surprises, a lot of upsets. So second round should be good.
For sure, for sure. Let's go ahead and start off with our main matchups. Number one, because you know we had to talk about it. No New York, no New York, no. First and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to all the friends of the show, everybody that taps in. You know, Rashad, Mosby, my pops, Tony, even B Hodge. Yeah, B Hodge. We saw you at the first round games. We know that you tapped in, but that's not how it works out here. You know what I'm saying? I heard Stephen A. Running his yap going into the first round series of the Heat and the Knicks, talking about, oh yeah, they've been to the finals, but that's the bubble, and they've done this and they've done that. But Madison Square Garden, it's a different animal. It's a different beast. Says who? Jimmy Butler came in there, did what he did. The Miami Heat came into Madison Square Garden, and they took care of business like they were supposed to, like I expected them to. The Knicks. The Knicks did a fine job first round, right? They were really killing the Miami Heat with their mid-range game, all up in the paint, all up in the post. No Julius Randle, we get all that. The biggest adjustments, and what I believe is going to be the reason why the Heat win this series, is coaching. You know, Spo noticing that the Knicks really can't get anything to fall from beyond the arc, and attacking that. Right? You know, RJ Barrett was continuing his streak in the first round. They were just like, all right, we're just going to dare y'all to shoot from the perimeter. And the Miami Heat, they made their adjustments. They got their groove going at the end of the first half. And in the second half, they just completely dominated. Like I said, the Knicks weren't able to really get anything going from three. And the Heat definitely capitalized on that, getting their perimeter game off. And yeah, it was a glorious victory for the Miami Heat to take a 1-0 series in a revival of a historical rivalry where we've seen a ton of fights and many magical things happen. Now, what I love about this series is 1999, the 8th seed New York Knicks took down the number 1 seed Miami Heat in the first round. And now it's kind of payback time. Sort of. I mean, the Miami Heat knocked out the New York Knicks in 2013. Now we're 10 years back from the Knicks winning a first round playoff series, like I said, for the first time since 2013. And you know, the Heat, this is what the Miami Heat do. They come in, they shut things down, they take care of business. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think the Miami Heat are about to go all the way to the NBA Finals. They're not my pick to go to the NBA Finals. But I sure as hell am going to pick them to get past the New York Knicks. I can promise you that right now. I don't care if Julius Randle comes back or not. I'm not going to fear the Randle handle. And on top of that, you ready for this? I got the Heat taking out the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden, Game 6. And just to add to it, I'll give the Knicks game this game tonight, tying it up 1-1, going back to Miami with no Jimmy Butler.
Game 6 would be in Miami because I think Game 7's in New York. And the Knicks have home court.
You're right.
Where do I start? I think the Knicks deserve a little bit of credit. Obviously, they didn't win that Game 1, but I think the way they beat the Cavs, I think I came on here and said that I think the Cavs will win that series. So they beat the Cavs kind of handily, and I thought that was pretty surprising. I thought Donovan Mitchell would have a bigger game. I mean, bigger series. But obviously, some of those guys are young. Garland, Mobley, was their first time in the playoffs. So shout out to the Knicks for getting that series done and getting their first series win in a while. This Heat matchup, I think it's tough. Obviously, Jimmy Butler's going to be out tonight, and I feel like if they didn't win Game 1, maybe Jimmy Butler would play today. A lot of people brought up how well Julius Randle has played against the Heat in the regular season. Obviously, playoffs is a different beast, so we'll see how things change when he gets back out there. Me and you was just talking about it off the air. We don't know if Brunson is going to play yet, so that'll change things. So to me, coming in, I thought it was kind of a toss-up series. Obviously, Jimmy Butler was playing out of his mind, and I think if he continues to play the way he played in that first round series, then I don't think the Knicks really have a chance, just like the Bucks kind of didn't have a chance. But I think from what I've seen from the Knicks from that first round series, real impressive. I'm gonna give them. I'm gonna cut them some slack. I don't think that it'll be that easy. Losing game one is tough. Could I see them maybe getting a game in Miami? Yeah. So last series, I didn't think it would go seven, but I think it's one of those series that I can see it going seven. Obviously, two lower seeds. No one really has an advantage. Jimmy Butler's out tonight, and we don't know what he's going to look like after he comes back from that injury. I'm going to go along the lines of kind of what you said. I think the Heat close it out in seven. Barring that Jimmy Butler's fully healthy, I think the Heat close it out in the Garden.
Yeah, it's a fun series. That historically, this is always a fun series. We've been seeing the videos of that fight that they had when Van Gundy was holding on to Alonzo Mourning's leg and stuff like that. That's usually the type of stuff you can expect from the Heat and the Knicks. And it's just really two gritty teams going up against each other. I think very highly of Tibbs, a lot more than I did at the beginning of the season. I was kind of in line with what was it? Meach is the one that has the beef with Doc Rivers. Yeah, I was kind of along the lines of Meach, but with Tom Thibodeau. I felt like I was putting Tom Thibodeau in the same category as Doc Rivers. By the way, this is a comeback playoff season for both of those coaches, so kudos to them. But ultimately, like I said, it's coming down to who's the better coach. I saw a lot of lapses in judgment from Thibodeau when clearly you have a Jimmy Butler that's hobbled in the last 5 minutes of the game. It's a close game, and you didn't attack him once. Now, I don't know. Is he being a double agent? I don't know. I can't say that because I know Jimmy's his boy. But that was very peculiar to see. That running the offense through R.J. Barrett to close out the game, who clearly didn't have it, that didn't make much sense to me. And then really not trying to force your team to go to the basket more, knowing that you just can't catch anything from three. Now, the Knicks, they haven't been a strong three-point shooting team all season. They've hit clutch threes at times throughout the season. But when you know that that's your weakness and you don't have anybody that's hot, there's no reason for you to be going there. So for me, this series starts and ends with coaching. We know what the stars of these teams are going to do. We know that when Jimmy Butler plays, he's going to go out and ball. Bam is going to do what you need him to do. And then on the Knicks side of things, Jalen Brunson, RJ's still a little inconsistent. And then if you get Julius Randle back, he can do that. Now, I'm more on the mindset that you lose a lot of ball movement when you bring Julius Randle back in the court. Yes, he's played very well against the Miami Heat, but the playoffs is not the regular season. That's when you kind of start to open up the playbook a little more, do things a little differently, attack things differently. And not only that, Kay, can you back me up on this, or maybe you want to disagree? When I watch Julius Randle, and this has been his whole career, but a lot more so with the Knicks because he hasn't played. When he was with the Lakers, it was a lot of young guys. Nola, it was him and Anthony Davis. He's been more of a number one option with the New York Knicks than he's been in his entire career. I say Randle handle because a lot of times Julius Randle gets the ball in his hands and kind of starts to act like he's a guard. And that's when he gets himself in trouble with turnovers, ill-advised shots, and things like that. He's a great player. He's an all-star. But there are some hindrances there. And I expect to see those against the Miami Heat, who played a hell of a game defensively game one, and I don't expect to see that end moving forward.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think a lot of Knicks fans would agree with you, but I think that's why a lot of people are happy, or a lot of people see a lot of change now Jalen Brunson is here. Last year, a lot of Knicks fans wanted to get the ball out of Julius Randle's hands, but they just didn't have that point guard. So I think what you say what you said is true, and I think a lot of people do agree with that. But I think that's why Brunson's here. I think that's why Brunson's been here all season. I think that's why Brunson has made a difference for them this season, because you get the ball out of Julius Randle's hand where he's not being that point forward. He's kind of just attacking and going and doing things like that. And I think if you looked at it, it's made a difference. So, yeah, I agree with you, but that's where Brunson comes in and maybe a little RJ Barrett. That's where they're playing through their guards a little more than they did kind of in the last couple of years come in. So you just need him to kind of just attack and go, attack and go.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. You know what I mean? Like, Jalen Brunson's been a huge help. We've been on this show saying that he's probably going to go down as one of the greatest offseason acquisitions of all time. That doesn't exclude the Randall handle, though. That's what we're going to call it, the Randall handle. The Randall handle is less in effect with Brunson, but it is still there. And when you, as an opposing team, when you need it to come, it'll be there. It's a lot like the Cowboys, right? When, what does Stephen A. Smith always say? What can go wrong will go wrong. If it's going to happen, it's eventual. So to me, expect the Randall handle to come at the worst times. And that's pretty much how I feel about it. I think you get a healthy Jimmy in there, you can see a lot of different things. As long as Jimmy Butler is able to play in this series, there's no reason for me not to take the Heat. And like I said, I got him at 6.
Yeah, I think like I was saying, I think they'll try to limit that as much as they can. And Randall has played well against the Heat during the regular season, which has been the big story here. So, I don't know if he limits his Randall handle against the Heat or what he does, but he seems to have something going from there. So, if I'm watching film, I'm telling him just continue what you were doing during the regular season, and obviously don't get outside of yourself and play within the offense and kind of, like I said, attack and go, get the ball in your spots. Don't play around with it too much, especially if he's going to have Jimmy Butler on him, if that's going to be a thing. So can't play around it too much, kind of got to just go and handle your business.
Yeah, I heard Mike Breen talking about that today as far as like getting Randall back. When you have Randall on the court, it allows you to kind of open things up for Brunson, because Randall is the one that the Heat or most teams are attacking with double teams. Game 1, he's not there. Brunson's seeing more of the double teams. So, yes, it's an adjustment for Spoelstra to make, but this is Eric Spoelstra, just moved into top 10 playoff wins all time. Can't really change much for me there. Other matchup tonight, we got something of legacy, man. We get to see LeBron and Steph Curry go at it in the playoffs again. Not the finals, the playoffs. The Warriors, I feel like they had to dig deep to get past the Kings in round 1. I feel like that's going to play a factor in this series because they spent a lot of energy getting past those guys. Whereas the Lakers, they took care of business in, what was it, 6 games? Seemed like it was at ease for them with a lot of rest time and things like that. Warriors just played the other day. So I think that's going to be something. Clay did not look like he had it in that game 7. Draymond did not look like he had much to offer in that game 7. It was really the Steph Curry show, if anything else, and Kevon Looney, who's killing it on the boards. I think I'm going to take the Lakers in 6 games. And I'm really wary on that. This is kind of a matchup that's tough for me to call. I'm not going to, I'm not going to write off the Warriors just yet. They showed me that their championship medal is still there with what they were able to do to get past the Kings. But I just like the Lakers were the best team in the NBA after the trade deadline. I like what they got over there. They got younger. They got better shooting. Key here is going to be, what does D'Angelo Russell give you when he's playing? Because if he's being productive, if he's efficient, then 100% they're going to win this series. If not, they might run into a little thing, a couple little problems. So there's that. I think if you're Anthony Davis, this is the time for you to be Anthony Davis. We don't need the inconsistencies. You really got to step up here. And for LeBron James, invoke your will going to the rim.
I think this is a Man, it's a toss-up series, man. I don't really know. You say you got the Lakers in 6?
I got the Lakers in 6, but I'm not confident in that.
I uh I think the Warriors. What helps the Warriors going into the series that they went 7 with the Kings, but they didn't have to travel too far. It was a 90-minute bus ride or whatever it was, and they have home court advantage in the series. Luckily enough, so I think that's going to make a difference for them coming down the stretch. Man, the difference is I think D'Angelo Russell has to play well. I think their defense has to be on par. Obviously, I think if you watch the Grizzlies series, there was a lot of packing the paint with on Ja and those type of guys. Desmond Bain wasn't really hitting nothing until Game 3, maybe Game 4. Luke Kennard ended up going out for Game 6, and Dylan Brooks couldn't hit a shot. So it was easy for them to pack the paint, and then you got Jaren Jackson Jr. hanging around the rim. So I think this is going to be a series where they can't play that same defense they played last series that looked so great. So I think the thing with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson is they kind of eliminate AD for you a little bit. AD had that big impact with like 60-something blocks in the series because they're packing the paint and he's able to come in and just kind of block those shots. You're not blocking those 3-pointers really. You know what I mean? They're stretching you. They're stretching you. I mean, you can block it because we've seen them block a couple of 3-pointers, but it's like those guys aren't attacking the paint like that. They're stretching you out. They're shooting 3-pointers, so you can kind of take AD out the game, even if he's engaged and playing well. It's just nothing for him to do because we're not going in the paint. We're shooting a whole bunch of 3-pointers. So unless you have him guarding guys on the wing, trying to do things like that. So I think that's where this series differs a lot for the Lakers, where you have to rely on your wing defense. I think Vanderbilt, who guarded Ja last series, he's gonna have to be big on trying to stop Steph. Obviously, nobody can really stop him, but he's gonna have to be big and trying to make it tough for Steph. Obviously, Clay is still Clay, so I think that's who D'Angelo Russell will probably be guarding. So he has to, stay home, don't overhelp too much on those type of guys. So I think it's going to be a tough series for the Lakers for that fact, where like AD's not going to be able to have that big of an impact that he had defensively. So how well do your guards play defense? And then you still need D'Angelo Russell to play some offense. So I'm going to go Warriors in 6. For that fact, I think AD's not going to have that same big impact that he had. Not that he can't. I just think he's not going to because they're shooting 3-pointers. They're not attacking the paint like that.
Is it the trauma that the Warriors have brought you over the years that is making you pick them?
I can neither confirm or deny those statements.
All right. Look, man, people keep bringing up Steph's record in the postseason against LeBron. I would just like to say that eight of those victories came at the hands of Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant is no longer there. So that's a big one for me. The key, and I've said this for years, going back to when LeBron was still in Cleveland, and this is how Cleveland was able to beat them in the NBA Finals. Aside from suspension and whatever, you can't outshoot them. No, you can't. You cannot outshoot them. But in the playoffs, where they let you be a lot more physical, you need to be physical with them, and the offense has to be going in the sense that you are attacking the basket. You are trying to get to the rim. That's another reason why I said LeBron should impose his will getting to the rim. I hear what you're saying as far as Anthony Davis defensively. Offensively is where he needs to shine. There's nobody on, if AD is playing like AD, there's nobody on this Warriors team that's going to stop him. So now you got to worry about LeBron. Who, you about to tell me Kevon Looney's going to take it to Anthony Davis?
I'm gonna tell you, Draymond might.
If I'm not fearing Draymond, if I'm Anthony Davis, especially at this stage in Draymond's career.
I don't think AD should fear him, but we've seen Draymond last year. Well, we've seen Draymond a lot lock up bigger guys, but we've seen Draymond last year make it tough for the Joker. So it's not just gonna be easy for AD in that paint in there. Absolutely not.
I think if AD is on it, it opens up a lot for everybody else. Because we're talking about who should you be concerned with on the Warriors side. The way that we're talking right now, they should be concerned with Anthony Davis on the Lakers side, which is going to open things up for guys like LeBron and D'Angelo Russell and those other role players that are over there.
I think if AD's jump shot is going to help him to help him open up the paint a little more, so stretch them out, make them come guard you, can hit with a quick pump fake, go under them, things like that. I think just trying to body down there with those guys may be tough. I think if his face-up jump shot is going, I think that'll open up a lot of his game to start attacking the paint and then obviously start opening it up for other people. So I don't think it's just going to be a cakewalk for AD down there in that paint down there. But my thing is more like, yeah, but then we get into a battle of the same thing the Warriors have been doing with everybody, bro. It's 2 versus 3s, and what is more? Like, AD can give you those 20 points in the paint or whatever he's going to do around the rim, but those guys are shooting 10 threes a game and they're hitting 7 of them. So it's like it's going to be a 2 versus 3 battle like it usually is with the Warriors.
I hear that. My thing is, and it's easier said than done. Obviously, you do still have to shoot the threes if you're going to beat them, but you're not going to beat the Warriors by trying to outshoot them. That doesn't work. We've seen teams try. The Houston Rockets tried it multiple times and failed. You can't outshoot them. The only thing you can try and do is kind of match them and then do what you can do inside the paint or just inside the arc in general.
Right. But I think I don't. Obviously, the Lakers can't outshoot them at all. So we're not even going to get into talking about that. The Lakers can't outshoot them. The Lakers have to try to slow them down. We just seen the Kings. I think the Kings just try to really outshoot those guys, but Kings actually play good defense. The Kings play good defense though. But at the Lakers, for me, it's going to be on the defensive end, and that's why I said with AD probably not having as big as an impact as he did last series, you're really relying on those guards to try to stop those guys. Obviously, you can maybe switch a little bit out on the perimeter. It's going to be a team defense type of thing, but it's going to be how well can you slow down Steph and Clay and Jordan Poole and those type of guys. So it's got to be less about, like I was saying, last series was more about the interior defense on Ja and driving and Jaren Jackson Jr. in the paint and those type of guys. This series is more about your perimeter defense and those guys staying with Steph, staying with Clay. Not letting those guys get open, not getting confused on switches and things like that. It's less about in the paint where AD can have that big impact and more about on the perimeter where it's like you guys got a guard out there. And I don't know how much I trust their guards out there, especially not D'Lo. They might attack D'Lo crazy. It might be a lot of whoever offense on D'Lo.
D'Lo should be playing with a chip on his shoulders. His first revenge tour against, Minnesota was ugly, right? But yeah, this is kind of a revenge tour for him too. He did play for the Warriors and he did get traded, so he should be looking Wiggins. Who's been a huge help for the Warriors since. I mean, if you
it's Vanderbilt. Who's their second guard that's starting for them right now? AD, Bron, Vanderbilt. Austin Reeves.
Austin Reeves, a starter on the Lakers.
Yeah. He was balling.
Kind of crazy. I know he's balling, but I thought he was coming off the bench.
No, he's starting. Lakers got a chance. It's whoever offense on D'Lo. I'm calling. We got him a lot of pick and rolls, and Steph just attack that guy. I mean, obviously, what you tell D'Lo is put your feet on. Oh, damn, those guys shoot from deep. Hey, man, guard up on him, force him to drive, try to drive him into AD. That's my thing for all the guys on the wings. Hey, get up in them. If they drive by you, that's fine. We have AD in the paint. Make them make tough shots over AD. But don't give up. No, don't give up too many 3-pointers. I don't care if y'all have to attack the person at the 3-point line and kind of like when you blitz Steph off the screen and they give the Draymond the roll. I think I'm fine with that in this series if we have AD back there. And that's probably what the game plan is. Hey, man, just blitz them off that 3-point line as much as you can and try to make them attack AD.
Be physical. You got to be physical with those guys. You have the size to do it. We've seen that it's worked in the past. You got to be physical with them. The other thing I don't want to ignore, which is another reason why I've got the Lakers winning this series ultimately, aside, like I said earlier, since the trade deadline, they've been the best team in the league. They've been pretty good against the Warriors this season as well. And obviously this is the playoffs, but it is something to pay attention to.
Say that one more time for me.
I was saying their regular season record against the Warriors They fared pretty well against them this season. And obviously this is the playoffs where a lot of things change and whatnot, but it's just something to pay attention to.
And the Lakers kind of have a different team. It should be a real good series, man. I think this is going to be. I already seen something where it's like the most expensive ticket. It's like $700 for the nosebleeds.
It's California,
and it's LeBron, Steph. It's Lakers, Warriors. It's like you said, D'Angelo Russell. It's the trade. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of storylines going on here. So, to me, I think if anyone thought the Kings and the Grizzlies was going to win the series and the NBA was going to miss out on the Lakers Warriors series, then you guys obviously didn't get the script for the season.
100%, man. Let's go ahead and move into. Let's stay in the West. Let's go ahead and move into the Denver Nuggets Phoenix Suns series. Phoenix Suns are cooked. You're asking a lot. They're down 2-0 now. You're asking a lot for them to win 4 games in a 7-game series where they're down 2-0. Chris Paul went down with a groin injury. Obviously, Chris Paul is a shell of himself, but can still offer things to your team, and that's a big loss for them. My biggest thing here, and I'm pretty sure we've all said it on the show before, depth. Obviously, defense wins championships. Depth wins championships. I don't even think the Suns, if Kawhi doesn't get hurt, I think it'd be the Clippers against the Nuggets right now. But that's not what happened. I think depth is the biggest thing here. Obviously, you got on the Nuggets side, you got a 2-time MVP. Jamal Murray's back in his bag doing his things, although he did not play a great game yesterday. But depth, you got to have depth. Even when the Warriors had KD, they still got production from their bench. If you're the Suns and what looks like you're probably going to be going out in the second round, you better be looking to bolster your bench. You're pretty fine on starters. Maybe you want to find a new point guard. Luckily for you, Kyrie Irving's available. But you should be looking to bolster your bench this offseason because you're not doing, it doesn't matter who you got up front. You're not winning anything if you are not getting bench production.
Yeah, I think we've seen that in the first round series. Even though they were able to get out of there, there was no bench help, really. Cameron Payne missed most of that series. Getting him back will help, but he doesn't look like he's 100% in rhythm and in shape to come into a playoff game. CP getting hurt last night hurts them a lot. I think if you look at that game, they were basically winning that game until CP went out. CP's the only person that the Nuggets are guarding a little differently. They're playing him with drop coverage, enabling him to kind of get to that mid-range and get to his little jump shot. So I think playing that pick and roll with him and Ayton opens up a little bit of the offense. I think after you've seen him go down, it was kind of just KD and Book trying to go one-on-one. And shout out to KCP, man. He had some big shots last night. I think he's been playing some great defense this series on Devin Booker. So shout out to him. He showed you why the Lakers won that championship in the bubble, because his defense was just up to par, and it's been up to par in this series. So I think he deserves a shout-out. But I think losing CP, obviously, like you said, there's not much bench help. And then even when they went to the bench, the Nuggets wasn't guarding those guys. It was, hey, we're going to wall up on their 2 stars and force someone from the bench to beat us. They haven't been playing. If they hit a shot, it's one of those things like, hey, if they beat us, you tip the hat to them. Hey, you guys were the better team tonight, and you kind of walk out of there perfectly fine. But if you look at that fourth quarter, it was a lot of kind of packing the paint, packing the size that KD and Booker on, and forcing those guys to go against 2 or 3 people. And I think CP out is really going to hurt them because, like I said, he's the one who they play a little different, drop coverage, things like that to open up the offense, get Ayton a little more involved and things like that. So we'll see how it goes moving forward. I think they don't have terrible guys on their bench. I think if T. Ross can come in and get you some buckets, that's someone that can space the floor. Damian Lee, he's supposed to be able to come and do those things. But I think bench just hasn't been there. And with CPI, I think it's going to be tough. I think they at least get one at home. Maybe they go home in 5. With KD and Book, I can see them getting both at home. One of them go off each game or something like that. But it's going to be heavily on KD and Book, but it's going to be the defense is going to be geared to stop them. So it's just going to be like, how great could those 2 be? And maybe your role players play a lot better at home where you're able to hit them for a couple open shots to open up the court and stuff. If those guys just hit a couple shots to kind of spare those other guys and get those guys a little bit of more space, they might be able to get out of here with 2 wins, and then after that it's a toss-up. But it's looking real tough right now because the Nuggets look deep, you hope that their role players don't play as well on the road, and your role players play better at home, and you get two and kind of take it from there.
I don't see it just because, like, we go back to what we just said with the Warriors Lakers series. I'm looking a lot to what I just saw, and against the Clippers, they had no bench, even at home, they didn't have great bench production against the Clippers. I'm not expecting to see that from them. Yes, Damian Lee can play. KCP's a good guy off the bench, but really after that, that's all you got. Like Cam Payne has built himself into a lot better than what he was. I mean, all he was known for up until that finals run with the Suns was Russell Westbrook's dance partner. So, I mean, I just can't see unless something crazy happens. I don't see that right now. I definitely don't think the Suns are getting swept. I definitely don't see that. But I don't know. I think the Nuggets will probably close this out in five, 6 games. Biggest thing, is it time to send out the apologies to the Denver Nuggets, or do we still need to wait?
I think apologies can go out. Now, obviously, we'll see how it goes against in the next series, but I think they'll make it tough for whoever's in the next series with them, too. So, obviously, no one believed in them and things like that. I still don't maybe expect them to get to the finals. I think they lose to whoever they play in the conference finals, but I still think that's a successful season for them, and they still proved a lot of doubters wrong. But it's one of those things where it's like, is it more Nuggets, or are we more seeing the lack of depth that the Suns have, which we kind of seen last round, and the fact that KD and them just didn't get to play a lot of games together. Obviously, it is what it is, but like you said, they're gonna have to go into the offseason and definitely look to bolster that bench. And I think with the team they have, they could find some guys who want to come off the bench, and they definitely need a new point guard. Not that they need a new point guard, but they need someone that can come in that's real serviceable behind CP for when he gets injured, just when he needs to take a break, things like that. Like a Tyus Jones, like a strong backup, someone who's strongly reliable.
They need a guy who can be a backup, but eventually will be their starting point guard.
Those are kind of tough to find, so we'll see. They could, like you said, Kyrie is out there, and I think that's a viable option. Obviously, I don't know what you maybe do with CP in that case, but they have to get younger. I think what I've seen from them is they look old. Even like KD, I love KD. He's getting up there. He's not the same player, and some of that is injuries and things like that too. So, but D Book seems like they're only young, spry player, and Aiton's a weird player to me. We're not gonna get into him right now. But
You just be real about it, bro. He's soft. He's soft. This is exactly why they wanted to get rid of him to begin with. They're just attacking him. He can't stop Jokic. Jokic does whatever he wants. I mean, obviously it's Jokic, but even in that Clippers series, he was not a guy that they were relying on.
we'll see what they do with him this summer. Maybe they can finally trade him after what happened last summer, and maybe you trade him and get some pieces. I think he was going to go to Indiana. Maybe you get a Buddy Hield, you get a Miles Turner, and that I think that helps this team a lot. Helps them get younger, shooting, defense in the paint, shot blocker, things like that. So let's see what they do with that guy in the summer too.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely 2 things to watch out with them. Who do you got? What do you got? I know we both got Denver. How do you got this going out? 6, 7?
Man, this is tough. I could see the Suns getting swept, man. I didn't think that the Nets would get swept last year, and it happened. So maybe I'm traumatized from that. But
That'd be wild if KD got swept back to back.
I feel like it's gonna happen. But I'm gonna give them 2 games. Nuggets in 6. Really, Nuggets in 3 in my head, but Nuggets in 6.
All right, a part of me is going to do this because I've definitely been disrespecting the Nuggets all year. I'll take the Nuggets in 5. I could see it going 6, but I'm gonna take the Nuggets in 5.
Let's see how well they play on the road.
100%, 100%. Let's go ahead and move on to our last matchup in the East. Man, what a game last night between the Boston Celtics and the Philadelphia 76ers. Okay, what was your, before watching that game, what was your opinion on what was going to happen? I had no Embiid. I had Celtics clearly taking game one.
Same. I think no Embiid. I think it would have been tough for Philly to go out there and get that win. Obviously, I am a strong believer in James Harden, but James Harden hasn't been the James Harden of old. He's obviously turned back the clock a little bit last night, but I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't have predicted that happening before it happened. So shout out to James Harden.
Yeah, James Harden looked like Houston James Harden. Now, let's also remember the biggest critique on James Harden throughout his career is that when the lights shine, he's nowhere to be found. This is since he became a franchise player in Houston. Regular season, he's set a ton of records, done a bunch of amazing things, led his team to a 1 seed. Playoffs come and he shrinks under pressure. Last night was huge in the fact that, number one, nobody expected to see that from him just because of where we felt like he's at in his career. But two, which I feel like nobody's talking about, historically in the playoffs, he's not shown up. And last night, you needed him to show up, and he answered the call. 45 points. Yo, I remember, I think there was 26 seconds left in the game, and the Sixers were up by 1 point. And all I kept saying was they should be either attacking the basket or trying to hit a mid-range shot. And then he shot that three, and I'm sitting there in disbelief. I can't believe he took that shot. And he knocked it down. That's when I was like, okay, nah, this is not only am I prepared to pick the Sixers to win this series, which I'm gonna be honest with you, I picked them to win this series before anything had happened with Embiid. They're gonna represent the East in the NBA Finals, and they might even win this might be their year. This might be their year. And if it is, Meech, you gotta come on the show. We gotta have a chat.
I got to send out some apologies, but yeah, man, I think that all comes down to Embiid, man. They can't, obviously Harden stepping up, keeping my childhood alive. So shout out to James Harden. I think it comes down to Embiid, man. They can't make it. I don't think they get out this series without him. That was a big win. They still got to go home and hold home court advantage and things like that now that they took it back. But I think all that comes down to Embiid. Obviously, we'll see what goes on in the West, but I think they can take down whoever's coming out of the West. So I see what you're saying, but it still comes down to Embiid, man. He has to be healthy. We kind of don't know what's going on with him, but big win for them. It's only one game. I've learned to not react over one game.
I mean, you saw Harden last night. That's exactly what he kept saying. Stop celebrating this one game.
Yeah, and I expect Boston to bounce back. Sometimes I think Boston needs to be like hitting them out for a little bit to kind of wake up. We kind of seen it in the Hawks series, so we'll see what happens with Embiid and if he comes back and then when they go to Philly. But I think Boston has put themselves in a tough spot. They don't seem like the same team from last year, and whether that's coaching or whatever's going on there, but we'll see. Or it's Jaylen Brown and kind of what's going on with him, but we'll see what happens, man. I think Embiid has to come back. Embiid comes back home in Philly. I definitely see Philly up 2-1 going into that game 4, and anything can happen from here. If they steal that game, then I think they got it. And then obviously there's the two Heat and Knicks on the other side. So you think they'll have home court advantage in that series, and they should be able to win. So we'll see how the rest of this series goes for them before we start jumping the gun. But hey, if they blow the series, we might have to have Meech on here anyway. So do the opposite, issuing out apologies.
Regardless, Meech got to come on. Pretty much, it's inevitable that Meech is going to be on the show by the time this series is over.
Right. So it's either he'll be maybe we can mend some fences, or he's going to be in here giving us the real. So we'll see.
More if I told you so.
You guys know who win the series when you hear Meech on here.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I mean, it's like I said. Regardless, it seems like we got to have him on here, whether it's apology tour season or listen. I tried to tell y'all. I think I've been hearing that Embiid might come back for game two, which would be needed. I would say with you being 1-0, up 1-0, there's no need to rush anything. If you feel like you need him to be at 100% or close to 100% and he's not there yet, continue to sit him. Um, I've seen a lot of good things from Doc, man. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, I think postseason wise, Doc is not the. He's shown us that he is not the coach that you want to have based on that postseason resume. I mean, we're going all the way back to the Orlando Magic when they were up 3-1 and he blew that lead. And what he's done since, obviously, he won the championship in Boston, but the Clippers' tenure, that team should have won a championship with as much talent that was on that roster. He came out the other day and said that they just didn't like each other and it was never going to happen. So there's that. And then obviously what we've seen with his time in Philly so far. But I like what I've seen from him this year. I feel like we talking about revenge tours. This is kind of a little bit of a revenge tour from him. He heard that noise last year about how people feel about him as a coach. And he chirped back and we had things to say about it. But I don't know, man. They were hitting like Tyrese Maxey is huge for them here. We talking about James Harden and what he did last night. Him and Tyrese Maxey combined for 70 plus points. So obviously that's your go-to scorer. You still got Tobias Harris over there. There's a lot to desire for the Sixers team. I feel like this is a 7-game series. I really do feel that way. But I'm picking the Sixers, and for me to confidently pick the Sixers, they have to win this game in 6. So I'll take the Sixers in 6.
Yeah, I think for me to confidently pick them, they have to win in a 6. They have to hold home court advantage. And like you said, I don't think it makes sense for Embiid to come back for game 2, man. You got that. You got the split that you wanted. Give him a little more rest. And it's really more about holding home court right now than getting game 2. I mean, if you want to get real greedy, you can go for it. But if the team that I just had got me game 1, what's the point of saying that they can't do it again? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I would rest them. So it's Maxey, like you said, great performance last night. He's been that guy for them. And some people say like, hey, he's really their second option or yada yada yada. At this point, it doesn't really matter. He just has to go out there and ball. He's been a serviceable player for them all season, whether it's off the bench, starting, whatever. Last year, this year, so he's big for them. He'll continue to be big for them. Obviously, a younger player on the wing than James Harden. James Harden's been more focused on running the offense and things like that. So his ability to attack, be younger, kind of have those fresh legs, get up and down the court really helps them and gives them a different dynamic there at the guard. So shout out to him for and then yeah, Sixers just got to hold home court advantage. I think if Boston gets it back, it'll be tough for them to win, but I think once Embiid comes back, it's a different series anyway. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, 100%, man. I think one of the biggest things that came out today before we get out of here was the Dylan Brooks news that came out. So conveniently, the quote from Draymond that was out in, I think, March was the dynasty starts once this guy's off the team. Right, he did say that. Well, today it came out that the Memphis Grizzlies, under no circumstances, will be re-signing Dylan Brooks, who's an impending free agent. I mean, look, man, Kay, you said it when Mike was on here. He shot 40% from the field. Your calling card was defense. You're supposed to be the new Draymond Green. You run your mouth a lot, and seems like you just couldn't back it up. So maybe they feel like he's to blame for them going out in the first round. I don't think that him not being I do think that him not being available to the media hurt him a lot. I think that was a big thing, and it says a lot about who his character is. If you're going to come out and you're going to say all these things, you need to answer for them as well. You got to take it on the chin. Draymond Green's one of the biggest villains in this league. When they lose, he's right there to answer every question that you need him to answer. He needs to say, hey, this is who I am. This is what I bring as a player, and we just didn't have it tonight. I didn't have it tonight. That's an acceptable answer. But you couldn't own up to it, and y'all lost. We said when they lost, like his biggest thing was I don't respect nobody until they give me 40. LeBron gave him 20 and 20 one night, and the Lakers closed out the series by beating them by 40 points. And again, he was not available. And so there's a lot of young players on that team that are very good. Obviously, Ja's the face of the franchise. Jaren Jackson's the number 2 option. He didn't really do much to kind of separate himself and say, this is why y'all should keep me here. Now, do I think his NBA career is over? No. I think a team will sign him this offseason. But whether you agree with how the Grizzlies handled it or not, this is the bed you made and you have to lay in it.
Sure, you could say that. I think to me it depends on what they look at him as. I think a few years back he was your strong 2 guard, but I think with Desmond Bane coming on now, having Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bane as your 2 and 3, I think you can upgrade there at that 3. Like I was saying earlier, the teams were packing the paint because he couldn't shoot and things like that. So I wouldn't mind him coming off the bench. I think they could keep him if he's willing to come off the bench. And obviously maybe take a little less money, but I think they needed another 3-and-D player, someone who's a little taller against those taller matchups like KD, and maybe a little stronger for the stronger matchups with like Bron and stuff. So someone that can space the floor, like I said, so they don't pack the paint as much. But I think with him and Desmond Bane, you're starting like 2 6'4" guys at the 2 and the 3, and I think that kind of just hurts you a little bit. Obviously, like you said, he was supposed to be this defensive guy. Probably not really that no more, but I think the shot selection is kind of questionable too. I think you need maybe like a veteran 3-and-D guy over there that who is a real true small forward, so you're not kind of starting this 3-guard lineup and can't really space the floor as much with them. So I think really it's just if you look at it strategically, I think Desmond Bane kind of really just took his spot at this point. I personally, looking at it, wouldn't want him as my 3-guard. I'm not going to blame him for this series loss because the Grizzlies had so many injuries that, like, they might have lost if he didn't say anything. They probably would have lost if he didn't say anything. So it was more of an injury thing. But obviously he does maybe need to shut his mouth sometimes. But I like I said, I think they need to just get taller. That 3-guard lineup has kind of done what it's going to do. They need to get taller and maybe a little older, kind of at that 3-guard spot.
I mean, can you say definitively, like, his reputation around the league is not a good one. A lot of players don't take him seriously. They have a lot of not great things to say about him. I don't think the post that LeBron came out with after the series was over helped his case at all either. It's the optics are not good there. And I don't think that the team. I think the team looked at what was going on there as far as you having a lot to say, you not being available to the media after games to answer for all these things. And you kind of, my biggest thing is you're motivating guys to step up to play against us, which is totally fine. It's totally fine. But now you need to step up as well. And I think that what you're saying, that is a part of the thinking as well. But I do feel like what has kind of transpired, not just in this first round, but throughout this season, has hurt him in terms of staying with the Memphis Grizzlies.
I think it plays a factor, but I think he's done a lot for them. Like you say, no matter what he says, he's come in, he's played hard. So I still think there's some type of, like, I think inner conversation, maybe some respect that they should have for him, because it's not like he just hasn't done anything for him type of thing. So I still think that even with all those things, some of those are like outside things where it's like, whatever, that shouldn't really affect us inside and things like that. So, and we don't know how their relationship is kind of with him within the organization and things like that. So we'll see kind of how it develops moving forward. But yeah, the outside things, there's some inside things. So there's a lot of things that play into it. But I still don't necessarily think it means he just has to be off the team type of thing. Like I said, now there's more inside stuff going on.
I'd be with you if they didn't go to Shams Charania the way that they did. I think the biggest thing was, if I could pull that up, was the quote at the end of the quote when they said, under any circumstances. You didn't need to throw that in there. I think that there's something to that.
Right. Like I said, we don't know what's going on the inside, so we'll see how things develop. There'll be more reports coming out later on. And I feel like that's something that could have waited for like the off season type of thing, right before free agency hits, type of thing. And something that kind of could have just kept in house. But now that it's out there, there'll be more reports kind of digging into maybe what's going on or what happened over there. And I just seen Ja's Instagram. He posted some pictures with Dylan Brooks, so maybe that's showing some support for him, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't think any of the players have any ill will towards him or anything like that. I feel like those guys have all been pretty much in lockstep with each other throughout this whole season. But in the end, there's some big changes coming in Memphis. We'll see who they pick up to fill in that role of their three, and what next season might hold for a team that seems like they're on the rise. And does Draymond? I tell you what, I can't wait for Draymond's next podcast. I know he's gonna bring it up. And what does he say? Does that quote of the dynasty starts once this guy is gone? Does that come true now? We'll wait and see.
Yep, we'll see how Memphis handled it. Last summer, they decided to go a lot younger. I think this summer they need to get a few more veterans back in there.
For sure. Kay, you got anything else before we get out of here?
Nah, man, everybody stay safe, man. I appreciate everyone that pulled up, man. They had a couple comments in here. Shout out to the Six Man Podcast. Shout out to the Masters of None Podcast. I see everybody in here, man. I appreciate you guys pulling up.
Definitely feel the same on my end as well. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's going to be an exciting week. A lot of playoff stuff going on. I will be in Phoenix myself to end the week. So definitely look out for some stuff there.
I will be in D.C. So
there we go. So the rundown will be on the road to end the week. So we got a lot of things happening. Hopefully you guys will stay tuned in. And for Rich and Kayson, peace. We'll see you guys next time.